The top-selling vehicles in the United States today are still trucks, specifically those built by Ford, Chevrolet, and Ram, or what we call the triumvirate of the American truck world. However, it's already clear that SUVs are starting to inch closer to these trucks, especially in terms of popularity and overall market sales. Still, there are some of them that you need to stay away from due to their problematic performance and questionable quality. Hello everyone, this is Ted from CarlandTV. Get in the front seat, as today, I will be listing some used SUVs that you should avoid buying, because trust me, all of them have the potential to turn into rotten lemons. Before I start, I would really appreciate it if you would push those buttons below, the subscribe button, the notification bell, all of them. I do not require you to do so, but you would make me smile and push me to give you more valuable car-related content on your screen. Now buckle up, and let's get back to the video. Dodge Durango, model years 2011 to 2013. The Dodge Durango has a mixed bag reputation. On the one hand, this three-row midsize SUV boasts impressive acceleration and towing ability thanks to its robust engines. It also has a surprisingly simple interface on its infotainment tech, and the rest of its interior is spacious and handsomely laid. On the flip side, the Dodge Durango isn't always favored due to its poor fuel economy, especially once you bolt its V8 engine on it. At the same time, its value deteriorates given that most of its driver assistance features, and I mean the essential ones, aren't standard. However, if there are certain Durangos you need to avoid, those would be its 2011 to 2013 model years. This is a no-brainer already, especially since you have been delving into the automotive industry for quite some time. You see, the 2011 to 2013 Durango models suffered from a faulty totally integrated power module, or TIPM. The TIPM is not just an ordinary component of the Durango. It's an essential part that manages and distributes electricity throughout the car. Multiple reports arose about its TIPM, such as the vehicle failing to start, stalling unexpectedly, and experiencing electrical failures. Upon further investigation, it was found that the cause of the problem was due to a malfunctioning fuel pump relay within the TIPM. This has led to a lack of fuel delivery to the engine, which resulted in the vehicle crushing without starting or stopping running altogether. I don't recommend a used 2011 to 2013 Durango to anyone, but if you insist because of an irresistible deal, just exercise due diligence in checking whether or not the necessary repairs were already implemented. Otherwise, skip that SUV. Toyota Sequoia, model years 2020. Toyota, one way or another, is arguably the best car brand when it comes to reliability. So, right from the get-go, including the 2020 Toyota Sequoia here, didn't mean that I found a major reliability problem for the said SUV. But at the same time, the reasons for me to compel buyers not to buy this specific model year of Sequoia are more or less substantial. Now, the Sequoia is among those full-size SUVs that many people fancy. Its cabin is cavernous, which allows it to fit up to 8 passengers without restrictions on the legroom and headroom. Their cargo area is as roomy as advertised. Plus, it has a durable and powerful V8 engine, so once it drives with zero lag. But hey, let me tell you what's wrong with the 2020 Sequoia. The primary reason you shouldn't buy this one is its high projected cost of ownership. The SUV is already expensive, so costly upkeep isn't something that any potential buyer would want. At the same time, the cabin, while spacious, is actually subpar compared to other large-size SUVs. Hard plastics are kind of everywhere. And while this is no longer a secret, the 2020 Sequoia has a poor fuel economy. It's only 13 miles per gallon in cities and 17 miles per gallon on the highways. It also doesn't help that the 2020 Sequoia, while having a thirsty engine, has a weak towing capability. This one did surprise me. It's only around 7,400 pounds or so, which is substantially lower than what a 2020 Chevy Tahoe or Ford Explorer can do. Chevrolet Suburban, model years 2011 to 2012. It's tempting to get a Suburban. It's big, spacious, and packs a lot of power. Plus, it's a certified family hauler that doesn't take the beaten paths whenever necessary. Throughout the generations of Suburban, many have been good. That's why it's a popular nameplate among large-size SUVs. Still, if you intend to buy a Suburban in the used market, You have to avoid its 2011 to 2012 model years. Here's why. Those production years for the Suburban weren't that exactly impressive. In fact, I feel that's an understatement. After all, in 2011 and 2012, the Suburban was troubled with severe transmission and engine problems that required not just extensive repairs, but full replacements. The 5.3-liter V8 engine suffers from excessive oil consumption, knocking and stalling, as noted by the NHTSA. I was also aware that there were issues with its active fuel management system. The thing was designed to improve fuel economy by deactivating certain cylinders, but it didn't come as expected. Many owners reported increased fuel consumption rather than savings, as the system's transition between cylinder modes wasn't always efficient. Also, I mentioned transmission problems relating to these Suburban models, right? Well, those involved harsh shifting, transmission slipping, and complete transmission failure. But surprisingly, despite these problems, no recalls were issued for the 2011 and 2012 Suburban. But that isn't a free pass for you to buy them. GMC Yukon. Model years, 2014 to 2017. The GMC Yukon is another full-size SUV that can go toe-in-toe with the likes of Sequoia and Suburban. Overall, I can't say bad about this particular SUV. It is well built and fashions itself with spacious and classy interior and fully tuned chassis. The SUV is known for its rugged quality and, for most part, has been one of the primary choices for American households who want a family hauler. Still, not all Yukon made positive impressions on the market. Take a look at its 2014 to 2017 model years, for example. These particular versions of the Yukon have low reliability ratings due to their problematic engine, transmission, and drivetrains. Like the Suburban, one of the prominent engine problems for these Yukon models was their active fuel management systems, which could cause the engine to consume more oil than normal, potentially damaging their V8 engines. Meanwhile, their 6L80 automatic transmission also had its share of defects. Owners had reported harsh shifts, shuddering, and even complete transmission failure in some cases. As far as I remember, the most prevalent transmission issue for the old generations of Yukon is the P0741 trouble code. Once this code pops, it indicates issues with the torque converter clutch, and that also leads to the degradation of the SUV's fuel, as well as its drivability. Several recalls have been issued among the 2014 to 2017 GMC Yukon, with the most notable one involving a contaminated chassis electronic module that could cause the vehicle to stall, posing a crash risk. So yeah, steer away from these old GMC SUVs. Acura MDX, model year 2020. Acura is Nissan's luxury arm, and I have a lot of good things to say about the brand, considering that I once drove an MDX. Fortunately, it wasn't a 2020 model, because if it had been, I would have been biting Acura on its buttocks. You see, the issues with the 2020 Acura MDX weren't featherlight. They are quite serious, and understandably worth every buyer's precaution. Specifically, the 2020 Acura MDX has severe issues with its fuel pump and drive system. Let's start with its fuel pump, which is part of a larger recall that affected 2.8 million vehicles in the United States. The problem was due to defective low-pressure fuel pumps, which, by the way, were manufactured by Denso. NHTSA verified that these pumps were prone to cracking and excessive fuel absorption, which could lead to engine stalling and loss of power while driving. Needless to say, this is a major safety red flag since it made the 2020 Acura an accident-prone SUV. Now, how about its drive system? Well, the 2020 Acura's drive system problems somehow had something to do with the super-handling all-wheel drive, alongside a couple of transmission issues. A number of 2020 Acura MDX owners observed unusual vibrations, difficulty shifting gears, and transmission fluid leaks. While these issues were not associated with a specific recall, unlike the fuel pump, they were frequent enough to be noted by owners, local mechanics, and even automotive review sites. Nonetheless, these still are reliability issues, and if you are not careful enough, you might get a used Acura MDX that didn't get the fixes that it needed. And that completes our list. Thanks for sticking to the end. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like and share buttons. I know it's a chore, but it helps the channel a lot. Until next time, drive safely.